Hello, and this is Nat Calloway from Edison Investment Research. I'm here with Weiwu He of CASI Pharmaceuticals, and he was going to tell us a little bit about the company here today. So, Dr. He, without further ado, take it away.
Well, Nat, thank you so much. I will start with a little bit my background. I came from China to do my PhD in the US in '86. And when I arrived in the United States, China, for instance, has not a single private automobile, in China. But today, China is the largest automobile market in the world. So I think in the last 30 years, we have witnessed many sectors in China is becoming the largest market in the world because it's 1.4 billion people aging and also getting wealthier. So one of the reasons I've been building many biotech companies in my life. I'm so excited about the CASI Pharmaceutical business model is we are actually a company leveraging the China market with global innovation to create global pharmaceutical products. So with that said, we already actually launched our first product, Evomela, in China. With that, we have built a very robust commercial team. And as everybody will know, we're already giving our guidance for our first product this year, over $14 million in revenue. And, I always say building a startup biotech company, the most difficult part is actually building the first product. So CASI actually is now a commercial stage company. And we have many, many very exciting programs in our pipeline. So there's no doubt in my mind, CASI will become a significant pharmaceutical powerhouse in the next 5-10 years.
And so, how is CASI's approach to China different than other pharmaceutical companies entering that market?
In many aspects, I think our approach is similar to, company like Zai Lab and Beijing, but CASI is being a smaller company. We are much more agile and flexible. And we use, I'll use two examples that we did. It shows that CASI's uniqueness. So we made an equity investment in a Chinese company called Juventus. By doing that equity investment, we actually own the global rights of the CD19 CAR T developed in China. Now we still own 16% of Juventus. They just closed $65 million financing recently, independently. We recently announced another deal, BioInvent, which we really love the antibody. It's developed in Sweden. We also made an equity investment in a Swedish publicly traded company by obtaining the China rights of the FC inhibitory receptor monoclonal antibody. So we basically will be, very open-minded. We're using China commercial market as our beachhead to do commercialization. But meanwhile, we're using global innovation as our pipeline. And we believe in the next 10, 20 years, there will be so much innovation globally. There's really literally, endless amount of, number of assets we can team up with many, many startup companies, innovative companies. So in many ways, we're not that much different from major pharmaceutical houses like AstraZeneca, Merck, and Pfizer. But on the other hand, we're very focused. We're focused right now on hematology, oncology mainly. And then, we're leveraging China. The other aspect of I want to emphasize a little bit is because this is the first time in Chinese pharmaceutical history, the Chinese regulatory agent is now part of the ICH, is a global harmonization of the clinical trial. we have significant clinical trial capability in China. So many of the innovative biotech company like to team up with us. So in their phase 2 trial, we can help them enroll 50, 100 patients to add critical data to their most valuable asset. So we become not only a company to have access to the Chinese hematology oncology market, but we also become a company to help our partner company to have access to clinical trial capability in China. Because everybody knows China has more cancer patients than any other country in the world. So this unique capability CASI is building up is actually invaluable to many of our partners.
Yeah, that's a very interesting story, and it's different than some other ones I've heard too. You don't see a lot of hematology-focused companies entering China. And with that in mind, the first product that you guys have launched, you guys launched last year in 2019. Can you tell us a little bit about that product, Evomela, and how the launch is going?
Well, Evomela is really a proprietary formulated melphalan. And we all know melphalan has been used as a preconditioning agent for autologous transplant for multiple myeloma. But melphalan was never really available in China. So, and this is a proprietary formulation, formulated melphalan. The patent, I believe, is over 2030. So when we got this drug approved in China, when we launched it, we really actually transformed the autologous transplant market in China. So I give you some, kind of anecdotal data. Before we launched Evomela, China, the whole country only does about 800 patients for autologous transplant. The first year, ever since we launched this drug in 2020, I believe the number is we already did almost 3,000 just using CASI's drug alone. We have done 3,000 patient autologous transplant. So this is why you're seeing that our commercial team really is doing a wonderful job of detailing the transplant doctors to basically introducing them to this new tools available to treat multiple myelomas. So our revenue, and we already give guidance that it will be over $14 million in the first year. That actually is pretty very successful launch in a Chinese hematology oncology market, because this is really, we have to build a brand new team to start with. And, with the first product launch, I personally am very proud of our commercial team. But the good thing is with this, 70 plus marketing and sales team we have in Beijing, in China, it really just opened up a whole channel for us to the hematology oncology market. And our team will be prepared to launch the CAR-T19 because we're detailing the same physician in the marketplace.
And earlier you mentioned that you have a CAR-T product in development. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And it's a CD19 CAR-T product, and why do we need another CD19 in China?
Well, actually, everybody knows CD19 is such a revolution for people has BALL and lymphoma. In BALL, for late stage patient, you can achieve almost 90% complete response rate. The US has approved two drugs, CAIA's drug and Novartis drug. But unfortunately, the US drugs are really, really expensive. They're all over $300,000 per treatment. China is not as wealthy as the United States. So if the drug is priced over $300,000, the 30,000 patients that need this drug in China, a very small percentage of people will be able to afford a 300,000 plus drug. the government is not going to reimburse a $300,000 expensive drugs in China. So when we look at the landscape in China, we were so lucky with, the CD19 we licensed is developed by Dr. Wan at the Tianjin Hematology Institute, which is the #1 hematology institute in China. And Dr. Wan was trained at NCI, and he was working on CAR-T, when CAR-T was even called T-body. So he really is an expert in developing CAR-T treatment. So through Jovantis, we licensed this CAR-T19, which is really, the CMC, the entire manufacturing process is much tailored towards the Chinese domestic market. So we know this drug has already been used for over 100 patients, and we have published some abstracts in BALL. Our CR is actually over 90%, for instance. But our current manufacturing cost is probably around $30,000. So this drug will be available at much reduced cost to Chinese patients, than the current U.S. approved drug. So in the sense, the CAR-T19 is a revolution, but to a particular market like China in the future, like India or other country, we probably need to create a $60,000 solution instead of a $400,000 solution. This is why it is so important for us to launch a lower cost version of CAR-T19.
That's a good answer. And can you tell us a little bit more about what other drugs you have in the pipeline?
Well, we have quite a few, drugs in our pipeline. Many of them has already been approved in US or EU. But the two most exciting drug that we actually are, just licensed, one is CD38. We licensed that drug from a company called Blackbell. And Blackbell was a spin-off company from a company called Tusk. So it's a European small biotech company. Tusk actually is a group of wonderful monoclonal antibody engineers. And they did such a good job engineer a monoclonal antibody for CD25. Roche actually bought out the entire Tusk team. But when Roche acquired Tusk, there's another asset called CD38 was spun off out of it to form a company called Blackbell. So CASI actually made an equity investment in Blackbell to acquire the global right of a monoclonal antibody against CD38. So we all know CD38 is a very much proven multiple myeloma drug target. Dara is already doing about $3 billion a year by J&J. So when the Tusk group was engineering a best-in-class monoclonal antibody, they really looked at all the pros and cons of every antibody already on the market or in the pipeline. So this antibody, we believe it's the best-in-class CD38 antibody. It has a different epitope. It has better ADCC. Most importantly, in the initial 30-thumb primate study, we have not seen any infusion reactions. So this is why we acquired this global rights of the monoclonal antibody. So as you know, we already filed IND in UK. Because of the COVID-19, the first patient dose was delayed a little bit. We probably will dose our first patient in the first quarter of next year, 2021. So next year will be a very pivotal year for our CD38 molecule because we most likely will dose DARA relapsed and refractory patient in phase 1 trial. So if the infusion reaction data holds true in human, or the the killing activity holds true in human, we have probably a very important gold nugget in our hand, because this might actually be the best in class molecule for a very well proven oncology target for multiple myeloma. But we don't know, because the human data sometimes do differ from the primate data, but we're very hopeful for this data set. The second molecule I will elaborate a little bit is the FC inhibitory receptor monoclonal antibody, because we all know for monoclonal antibody to work to kill tumor cells, you have to have ADCC activity. Basically, monoclonal antibody is a form of immunotherapy. On one hand, the monoclonal antibody is a molecule to bind to specifically to a tumor cell, but it's the other end of the monoclonal antibody, the FC receptor. FC region binds to FC receptor to trigger ADCC, to bring in the NK cell, to bring in the macrophage, to kill the tumor cell. But there is an inhibitory receptor for FC binding. There's plenty of science to prove that some patients don't respond to antibody therapy is because the antibody triggers or binds too much to the inhibitory receptor. So this receptor is almost like an immune checkpoint for monoclonal antibody therapy. So BioInvent has created a monoclonal antibody to block the FC inhibitory receptor. So we think this is almost like a PD-1 antibody for monoclonal antibody therapy. So when we looked at initially BioInvent's data, which they will probably do a full release at the beginning of next year, we were very impressed with some of the data when in lymphoma. Actually, when this drug is combined with Rituxan, it clearly sees activities for people who has been refractory or relapsed patient after the Rituxan treatment. So we're very excited about this molecule, because this molecule technically can be used in combination with Rituxan, Herceptin, PD-1. So it's really a checkpoint inhibitor for monoclonal antibody therapy to treat cancer. And the reason we teamed up with BioInvent, or BioInvent, like to team up with CASI, is because we have a very strong hematology oncology franchise in China, and we can help them dose maybe 50, 20, 100 patients in China, the patient who has already relapsed or refractory after Rituxan treatment in their pivotal phase 2 trial. So we're really teaming up with a company like BioInvent to really speed up the global innovation of this class of innovative molecule.
That's all very exciting. And what are the next steps for the company? What should we expect from in terms of news flow for the next 6 months or a year?
Well, I think you will continue to see that we increase revenue of Evomela. I will add a little bit is, because the sales force in China is much less expensive than, the sales force in the US. When Evomela gets to about $30 million revenue, that drug alone will pay for our entire commercial team in Beijing, in China. So, CASI is really a commercial stage pharmaceutical company, unlike most US biotech company is burning hundreds of millions of dollars, while doing innovation. So CASI will actually have our first drug paying for our entire commercial team pretty soon. Okay, so, and our next big news probably is going to be our CAR-T19, which we already finished the phase 1 data, phase 1 trial, because our data is actually so impressive. we already got approval by NNPA to initiate the pivotal phase 2 trial, right? So, and you will see some news flow on the release of the phase 1 data, and the maybe even some phase 2 data news. The BioInvent molecule, the initial 12 patient data most likely will be released early next year. And our CD38, you will see, we're dosing the first patient in Europe, probably first quarter or second quarter of next year. So, but most importantly, I think CASI is going to be very open-minded. We're going to continue to work with innovative company like Juventus, BioInvent, and Blackbill to look at a dozen or 2 dozen innovative asset, and using the core competency CASI has developed to add a tremendous of value to these molecules. And that would be, we're going to do this, for the next few years until we really have a very, very robust pipeline. But for me, it's really rewarding. We are actually helping people. Evomela is already this year already helped over 2,000 patients for autologous transplant. We all know that for a relatively healthy multiple myeloma patient, autologous transplant is really the standard of care. About 13-14% of the people gone through autologous transplant can live 20 years. So it's almost a functional cure. So for me, this is really, the rewarding part of our job is the drug we, through our effort to put it on the market, really is saving people's life.
All right. Well, it's a very interesting story, and thank you for taking the time to tell us. And take care, and we'll be following it very closely here at Edison.